welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be doing the gearbox oil change on the bike. Like I said in my other video, I don't particularly run the bike more than twice on the same gearbox oil, as these bikes do take a lot of hammer on the clutches and everything else. So today I'm going to be changing it. I use not my mummy's shop local shit. We use rock oil, Grow synthetic gearbox oil. Oil is the life of your bike. Same as your car, same as your road bike, whatever you're doing. So if you was to run this bike on the same oil all season, it's going to cost you in the long run because everything wears out. These bikes do not like finding neutral when they're running. That's just pretty standard for a trials bike, not to find neutral. So you have to stop the bike, find neutral, kick it back up again. I've found using the proper stuff and changing it regular or on a regular basis, that it does help the gearbox and it does help finding neutral. If you can't find neutral on your bike, obviously the oil is past its best or not as good as it should be. Like I said, the oil is the life of your bike or your gearbox. Also, this is a two-stroke, so it is a two-stroke mix of 30ml of oil into 5 litres of fuel. Again, don't use new fuel, don't use E10. I run this on E5 only, or Shell Pro, whatever it is, V Power Pro. I also don't use cheap two-stroke oil that you can buy from Morrison's. Not the best to do. Really not the best to do at all. Always buy trials two-stroke oil. I use rock oil strawberry two-stroke. Smells great, smells strawberries. Not massively, but it does have a hint of strawberry in it. Also, as you can see, if you can see, there is a vertigo on the front of there with Dougie Lampkin. This is what it states on the internet to use. So I use this. There is other brands out there, MX7. You can use that, which is a little bit more for motocross two-stroke. A good friend of mine uses the MX7. This has always been run on this, so I just use it because it's always been run on it. Again, it states on the internet to use 25ml to 5 litres of oil. I actually use 30ml to 5 litres of fuel, purely and simply because the bike is under more stress with 2 people on it, and it's a little bit sacrilege, to be fair, to only put 25ml of oil into a two-stroke, whereas the gas I used to run, we'd run 100ml to 5 litres, so it's a massive difference, or it feels like a massive difference. When somebody told me it was only 30ml of oil in the bike, I was sort of shocked and thought, well, if I go out riding it, it will seize up. It hasn't done, thank God. And because it's a fuel injection, this is why people say only to use 25ml if it's solo. Yes, I have gone 5ml more with it being a sidecar unit, and it doesn't over smoke when it's running. As you'll see in the videos, when it's running, it does run and it's not choking everyone out. So I'm obviously not using too much oil. If I did mix this at 100 to 5 litres, 100ml to 5 litres, it would choke everybody out and probably foul everything up, the injector and everything. So basically that meaning the new innovation of two-stroke, they don't lube everything, they only lube the mains now. They don't lube everything else. Sorry, they don't lube the mains anymore, which they used to lube the mains and everything. Now they don't, so this is why you don't need as much oil in them. It took me a little while to get my head around that, but obviously I have done now, so it runs all right. I've had this now for several months, and it's had a good 30 tanks of fuel through it, all running at that mixture, and it's been absolutely fine. The only thing that has happened with this bike is it's eaten a spark plug, pretty standard. Even in motocross, whatever, you could kick it up on the start line and do 2 or 3 laps and your spark plug's dead. Whereas trials bikes don't particularly do it that often. They don't particularly eat plugs that often. But this has eaten one. It cost me a whole £3.95 for a new one. It is a very small spark plug. I haven't got one on hand to show you because it's in my other kit. It's basically a lawnmower plug that goes in, so that didn't cost the earth to change. Also, they have a fuel filter, inline fuel filter in the tank. I've changed that out as well, just because it was like sludge in there, so I changed it out. Again, anything that's renewable on your bike or changeable on the bike, i.e. oil, two-stroke, which you never need to change because obviously it burns it with the fuel. Just make sure your mixtures are right and this, that and the other. Same as the coolant, change the coolant out. How much does it cost to change the coolant out? Not very much. I can't exactly see it at the moment. I use a, yes I can, hang on, I'll go grab it. This is the coolant I use. It is ice cooler, high performance coolant. Again, I only use this in this machine because the other machine, the gas that I had, was older, and it sounds stupid, but it's smaller molecules, so if there is a slight imperfection in your radiator or your cooling system, this will find it and it will leak, and you won't have any left by the end of the trial. So you're much better off putting water and normal coolant in the older bikes, as like I said, if there's any imperfection, which there generally is. Obviously water molecules are bigger than molecules in this stuff, so it will find ways and means of getting into either your gearbox oil, or it will spew it out somewhere, and then you're in trouble again because you don't have any coolant in it anymore, so it will overheat and cause you a lot more problems. I changed that back out and put water back in the gas as I was having nothing but problems with it. This being a newer bike and a newer system, this is quite ample to use. So right, I will leave this video as it is and crack on with doing the gearbox oil change out the coolant, and also the fuel. Don't have to change the fuel because it's not been in there long enough to change, and I will be back out on it probably tomorrow or at the weekend. So that's not an issue. Like I said, don't use cheap two-stroke oil, don't use cheap gearbox oil, and depending on the age of your bike, this stuff is brilliant. Like I said, if it's older, just use water and your normal coolant systems, whatever you use, whatever coolant you use, just normal motorcycle coolant or whatever, because this stuff is smaller moleculed and it will leak and it will find problems. So that's what I'm doing today. Thanks for listening. See you later.